Welcome. I'm Cheryl Mitchell, the president of Treleven, which is a retreat and learning center here on a sheep farm in Addison County. And we're very interested in the intersection between spirit, nature, and social justice, and have started interviewing people in our community who've made a huge difference, sometimes well known and sometimes not. It's my thrill today to be interviewing Arlinda Wickland, who I first met many, many years ago when Otter Creek Children's Center was first starting, and just over the years have come really to admire her. So Arlinda, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm wondering if we could start by just asking you, so did you grow up in Addison County, or how did you come to be here?
I grew up in Chicago, not too far from Michelle Obama's neighborhood.
Wow.
And actually, Tim and I, my husband, we attended high school together and actually began dating after the 10th year reunion. And then at that point, I had finished graduate school and was looking for a job and applied to a position at Middlebury College. And Erica Wanacott, the dean of students at the time, to my great advantage, she read all 200 applications at the time and picked me to come for an interview. So Tim and I came in 1980, and the rest is history. I thought it was going to be a short stop to get some experience under my wings. And then I really wanted to get a job in Boston, in the Boston area. But life happened. We had children, and we fell in love with the community, and I had a great life at the college. So that's what brought me here. That's how we're here.
Did you move to Weybridge right from the get-go?
No. We lived in Middlebury in a college house. So Erica was so wonderful, found us a college rental, and we lived on South Street, and that's where we had our 2 children. And after 5 years, we bought a house in Weybridge. And it turned out that this house, which was right across the street from the community church, was also the former parsonage of the church.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, of course, you buy a house like that, you're going to go to the church and check it out because it's right across the street. So I did, and that was in about 85, and I just love being a part of that community. It's like, it's small, but there's a lot of diversity in the congregation. We've got doctors and carpenters and lawyers and artists and farmers and everybody there, just so warm and really looking for ways to do good work in the world, to both locally and nationally. So that has been a really big part of my community outreach. I was on the board of directors for the United Church of Christ for some years.
On the Vermont board?
First the Vermont
And
conference,
then, okay.
and then I was appointed to the national board of directors for a while. And but then I just wanted to focus. My job was so demanding at the college. I wanted to focus on. After I retired, I wanted to just focus on my church and to help develop it and support various activities, and that's what I'm doing. I sing in the choir, and
do you do the handbells as well?
I don't do handbells, and I'll tell you, Carol Washington, the director, she's been after me, but I really don't read music well, and she says, "Oh, that's okay, you can learn." I faked it with the choir, and I'm doing okay with that. But anyway. I just love the church, and I headed up a big fundraising endeavor a couple years ago. We called it the Solstice Dinner and Auction because we had a shortfall in our budget for about a few $1,000s. So came up with this idea to have people in the church, dedicate or contribute items and services, and we had a fancy dinner and invited people, didn't charge any money, and I got a lot of flack for not charging money for this fancy dinner, but I thought we'll just let people come and have a good time and bid, and they bid generously, and we made over $8,000.
Wow.
I know, I mean, it was just kind of a lark. We were so excited, and so people are after us to have another one, but it was a lot of work.
I bet it was a lot of work. I also think of that church in relation to the chicken pie suppers, which my mother just loved.
Oh, the chicken pie, over the years, people come back year after year after year and have such warm regard for that experience. Food's amazing. Of course, Martha Winnett now, who's a former caterer, is making the chicken pies. And the rest, it's a really well developed and well greased operation.
It certainly is. I'm so impressed, though, and it gives you a chance to sit down with people that you don't necessarily know and talk to each other. And that's where I first learned about all of the outreach work that
the church
tiny little church is doing. That wall covered
thank you
with
for mentioning that.
Wow.
Because it is huge. We are a small congregation, and there's just a lot of interest in doing what we can to help. And as I mentioned, the local and the broader community as well. So it's a very generous church, and we also have a lot of fun, So, but the chicken pie supper has been over the years our mainstay fundraiser, and people look forward to it, and they start calling sometimes before we've announced the date, people are calling to make reservations because they want to make sure they can get in. So it is wonderful.
It reminds me of the way you operate at the college, or that you did at the college too, that you have a very local job to do, and then the impact is so global. And I'm wondering if you could talk some about your role as an advisor, to pre-med students. I know a lot about your role with the Watsons, but we'll go back to that in a minute because of my husband. How did you come to be an advisor there? Was that what you were hired to do?
Well, actually, I was hired by Erica Wanacott, who was Dean of Students at the time, to be one of the deans. I became Associate Dean of Students. And over the years, my portfolio expanded. And as she was retiring, Erica Wanacott had run the Watson Fellowship Program. She was the college liaison. And this was is a very prestigious award. Only selected colleges can participate in it. And it's an opportunity for, about 50 graduating seniors who are highly intelligent and ambitious and passionate about an issue or social problem to pursue their goals for a year of independent study and travel. And so this fellowship, pays generously for the students to do that. So Erica Wanacott was in this program from its inception, meaning the college, Middlebury College was. But then when she retired, as a gift, she passed it on to me. And it really was a gift because I didn't know what she had been up to with this. But it was so gratifying, selecting the students, working with faculty in a more enriching way, because the faculty, we all helped select the students, and then we would, prepare them for their interviews, give them mock interviews and all. And that's another way that I got to know you well, because you were involved in participating in some of the mock interviews for other fellowships that I was leading over the years. So initially it was the Watson, and then I also recognized that there are a lot of other postgraduate fellowships that our students didn't have any idea about, and I thought our students were missing out on really significant opportunities, just because there was no one to manage all of that. So I made a proposal to the academic administration that we have a centralized office to handle those programs. That proposal was accepted, so I headed up an office of postgraduate scholarship advising. And then over time, because people had their eye on me, the faculty had their eye on me to head up pre-med advising, because the professor who had done that retired. So, I added that to my portfolio, and it was a huge undertaking for many years. So, I had left the dean's office, ran the fellowships and health professions, and over time, the pre-med students, the numbers were just growing from 25, 30, and up to 60 a year. And so that was a lot of coordination and support. When you start working with kids in their first year, and you get them through seniors, and some of them don't apply until they graduate, and so it was huge. But anyway, over time, I was sharing responsibilities for the fellowships, and I retired primarily as the director of health professions advising. So that, well, that's pretty much the whole story.
The whole story. I think it's not the whole story, because I think you also have maintained relationships with many of those students that you've known.
I do.
Over
I
the
have.
years.
Yes, I have, and I do. And Facebook has been so wonderful in facilitating that. I mean, the students have been great at reaching out to me, when they come back to visit. But now we really are well connected through Facebook, and when I post pictures of my adult boys now, and I get comments from my former students just saying how they can't believe, little Timmy's all grown up, and and also I, get invited to weddings. I have a wedding to go to this summer of my former students. So the relationship is deep and lasting. I mean, when you're advising students that long a period of time, you really get to know them, and you develop a closeness, and and I feel like I've made an impact, on the lives of a lot of students that way.
Do you have ideas? Everybody in Vermont is wringing their hands about how young people are leaving the state, and our population is going down, and it seems as if it would be incredibly wonderful if many of the students that you've known through the years at Middlebury would, after their graduate programs or their first work experiences, would decide to come back here. Especially some of the students that you advised who've gone into medicine, I think.
Yes,
it would be great if they would come back to practice.
It's happening. We have a good number of Middlebury College graduates at UVM, and many who have gone through Middlebury, through UVM, and who are currently practicing. So, I also advise dentists, and so one of the recently established dentists in our community, Adam Fasoli, he was one of my advisees. He's practicing now, and so, and I've been able to keep in touch with him, but there are others in local practice, and many at UVM. And I would also say that other students have gone away and come back, and some have never left. Angela Evansy, you must know her. She is working for NPR, and so she actually won the scholarship that you were involved with, I think, as a mock interviewer, the Compton Fellowship. And she was interested in interviewing local people with interesting stories, and that was kind of her project proposal. She went off and did her fellowship, and then she came back, and then I think she went away. She worked in the North Country for a while, so she's here. And there are other people who, now that there's the opportunity to work, what do they call it?
Remotely.
Remotely,
Yeah.
yes, on computers. we're getting more of our students coming back, but it's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
share the
I think
concern.
that we first met when your son was at Otter Creek, and my daughter was at Otter Creek, and I'm just thinking, those relationships between the college and the community, I think still have room to grow and to be strengthened, and maybe to make this a more welcoming community for families with young kids. So I'm curious what your kids' experience was like growing up here. I know their childcare experience, but not
yes.
much.
So I should mention that that I'm in an interracial marriage. So my husband's white and I'm African American, and as I said, we went to high school together. So when we came to Vermont, um, wasn't sure how that was going to be received, but I can say, I've never experienced any overt racist act. I mean, I think that's saying a lot because that's not everyone's experience of the people of color who live here. But anyway, we have had our two children, both born here in Porter Hospital. And it's so great sometimes running into, there's one of the nurses who delivered both of the children. And she always stops and asks me, this is like 30 years later.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I felt like it's been a wholesome and enriching environment. We've got the Green Mountains, and their kids love to hike and swim and, bike and canoe. On the other hand, I've learned over the years that they've had their challenges as children growing up, as the only one of color. And you know how small Weybridge School is. I mean, it's a wonderful school, and it's small. And so if you have a class of like 7 or 8 kids, and you're kind of, on a spectrum of, well, our sons are very bright, and the oldest one is really gifted. So he had challenges in that he really didn't have close friends because of just the nature and his interests, but also he was different because of the way he looked.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize until he'd grown up and went away and came back and shared it with me. Like one of the stories he had when he was in first grade, I think. Yeah. And his close friend also was called Timmy. And one of the kids out had said to him something about that he was black. And he said, my son said, well, I'm brown. And the other kid said, no, you're black. And then the other Timmy said, no, he's brown.
Wow.
And, how affirming was that for that little kid? But, there were other incidents, I guess, on the playground. They weren't horrible, but, there are things that make it kind of sad, wish it hadn't happened. But in talking with my sons now, I mean, there's no regret. Averill, the second one, was very popular because he was such an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and in small towns like this, things like that really make a difference in helping students, or children, have their own community and place and have support. And so, sports seems to be that leveling, activity that, if you're in it, you've got teammates, they've got your back, and so I think his time, was happier. I don't think it, I know it.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes back and, he's got to hook up with all of his old friends. He lives in California now with his fiance, and he comes back and the phone's ringing and the driveway's happening, and and it's really fun, even though after all these years and he's been gone. Yeah.
So will you stay, or do you still have Boston in mind?
I think Boston's out of the picture now. I mean, and my sons, well, Teo, the oldest one, he's now in French Polynesia working on his PhD, and but he's been living in California for years, and so Ariel just recently moved there, but he thinks, well, now that he and Ariel have California in their
They
blood,
should get you and
I
Tim
should
out
definitely
yeah.
be coming out there. And they said, "Oh, Mom, I read the reports about the weather, and it's just so cold and icy, and you really got to come to California." And I couldn't see it. I love the seasons here.
Yeah.
I
And
love
you're
it.
also very tied into
I've got community.
you have community. You said that you discovered opera
Oh
several
my,
years ago, and that's
yeah,
been an
yeah,
important part of your
yeah.
life. And
Well, you can find good opera companies in most big cities,
okay.
but that has reinforced my enjoyment of life, on the East Coast. And, you know, we don't even mention Montreal. I mean, I just love that as an option. But I have a lot of friends in Boston. They're looking to move to Vermont, some of them. So, no, I don't see myself leaving. And Tim, I mean, I can't even get him to start thinking about downsizing. I mean, we got this big house,
Yeah.
and the boys don't come back often enough, although April swears, promises he and Brittany are coming for Christmas. They're going to get married in November
Ooh.
in Atlanta. She's an Atlanta
Congratulations.
girl. Thank you. I'm excited. So, anyway, Tim can't even think about downsizing. He's so attached to the house, our home.
Yeah.
And, and he's put so much energy and effort into developing the property. When we moved into the house, it didn't have trees.
I know, I've watched that. It looks
flowers.
so beautiful.
Thank you.
now.
And I can also say that your mom is responsible for some of the beautification because, she gave us a few plants. They're called Naked Lady.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful display now. They're it's a Naked Lady because they bloom. You must have them. They
Well,
bloom
yes,
without
my mother got
before
such a
they
kick out of
leave.
that, right?
Before they leaf out,
Yeah.
they have their bloom, and so we have a section in our garden that's full of Naked Ladies, and then we have in the center of the garden a lot of peach iris. So you've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
Those are from Erica Wanacott. Years ago, she gave us about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And so we've got those. So anyway, we just are attached.
I
We
love the
our
way there are
life.
legacies that are not just the things we've done, but also the plants that people have divided and shared with their
Shared.
friends and,
Yes.
and
Yes.
histories and
Yes.
stories.
I've got forget me nots now in there from Susan Humphrey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sweet.
So, Arlinda, we're running out of time. Is there anything that you'd like to just say in closing about life in this community?
You said it would go fast. I can't believe it. Well, I could just say, before Erica Wanacott died, I mean, when she was healthy even, I would write notes to her, love letters, and to thank her for bringing me to Vermont. I mean, I would have never, and I don't think we would have gotten here if it weren't for her. And, our life has been so wonderful, so rewarding, and I just can't imagine having a better life anywhere. I just feel so fortunate. And, knowing people like you
Well,
and
you
your...
certainly have enriched the lives of so many of us. And just want to thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you.
Ordinarily, we would close and we'd have your phone number there, but since you've retired, we probably won't put it up there. But
No,
people
thank you.
can find you through the church or other ways. If
Yes,
they'd like
look,
to
yes,
connect.
contact me through the Weybridge Church.
Okay. And thank those of you who were watching today. It really is a gift to get to know people in our community who have made such a difference, and we appreciate you being part of this. And if you'd like to share other ideas, you can just get in touch with the people here at the station, and they can help you to do that. Thanks.